So continuing the practice sheet example, now let's talk about the impact of a stock split, specifically a 2-for-1 stock split. And you'll see that I have a before the split column and an after the split column, and that the dollar amounts of paid-in capital, retained earnings, and total stockholders' equity all remain the same, both before and after the split. The reason being, there are no journal entries for a stock split, so there's no way that these amounts could change. So companies just make a notation in their records when they split their stock. What will change, however, is the number of shares outstanding as well as the par value of stock. So here's how many shares of stock there were before the split. And since it was a 2-for-1 split, it means for every 1 share of stock before the split, there are now 2 shares of stock. So the number of shares double, but the par value actually decreases if we're splitting that stock into 2 shares. So every 1 share is split into 2, then our par value is also split into 2, and it will be half the par after the split. Now, if we had had a 3-for-1 split instead, the number of shares outstanding would have tripled, and the par value of stock would be 1/3 of the original amount. So let's go down and take a look at these completion statements. Going back to stock dividends to begin with, stock dividends increase the dollar amount of paid-in capital, and paid-in capital includes both common stock and paid-in capital in excess of par, plus preferred stock if there is any in the company. So that gets increased with stock dividends, but the retained earnings account decreases. And so we're basically just shifting money from retained earnings into the paid-in capital section. And therefore, total stockholders' equity remains the same after a stock dividend. However, the number of shares outstanding increases with stock dividends because we're issuing new shares of stock to our existing stockholders, but the par value stays exactly the same. So par value only changes with a stock split. Stock splits don't impact paid-in capital, retained earnings, or total stockholders' equity, and that's because we don't make journal entries for stock splits. However, the par value of stock decreases, so it gets cut in half with a 2-for-1 split, gets cut into thirds with a 3-for-1, etc. And of course, the number of shares outstanding increases with a stock split.